Here we go. Here we go. You do not want to miss this. Let's wait for some people to come in. Just for anybody who replays and like watches this over. Sorry, this is a late live, but I just felt in the spirit to give this message because yeah, it's time to shut some things down and turn some things back on. So I'm gonna just wait for some more people to come in. Hey, what's up? Yo, we already got some people coming in. All right, all right, all right. Oh, okay, okay. Here we go. Let's get this stuff. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna just go ahead and start. Okay, I'm not gonna tell you what happened before this video because it was hilarious, but it had is the reason why I'm doing this message right now. Hey, what's up, everybody? Okay, so sorry about the late live. It's actually like where I'm at least like 10 o'clock p.m. All right, so I'm gonna just go and get right into it. So in this video, I'm going to be pretty much going off on evolution because it's got to stop. The delusion about the Big Bang Theory and how organisms came to life is all just, it needs to go away. So first, I'm going to just ask a couple questions that not even the experts can answer because either that or they're just going to give just a random answer, and then I'm going to have a bunch of verses that I'm gonna read to y'all, and I'm gonna explain reason why we should rely on God. So let's just talk about evolution and science for real quick. One thing you want, if you are a person who believes in evolution and the Big Bang Theory, I just want to ask you this one question, and this is a series of questions. And I like to hear answers, not to like start anything, but like seriously, I would like to see your answers because you never know what new information I might learn. But I just want to talk about this because it's something that it's on my heart and it's bothering me, and it's also just there's a lot more truth to God than you think it is and what you learn in school. So in school they teach you that in the beginning, there's a an atom-sized white ball, and out of nowhere, it just appeared. It just appeared, and it blew up, and now we have the universe. I mean, come, like every single time I hear that mess, I bust out laughing. I'm like dead serious. Like you're saying, everything fit in this atom-sized ball, and one day it just blew up. And now everything is alive, and we got stars and all. Like it's bogus. Like how can you explain that? And a lot of scientists they say, oh, this was an event that happened 13.8 billion years ago. Like one thing about science is that they always like to use really big numbers to try to impress people into thinking that this is what's right. Now it's funny because a lot of people, it's funny how everybody can just remember or know something that happened 13 billion years ago, but nobody can recite what happened. Many people can't even remember what happened last week or what happened maybe a few years ago. I mean, you see how backwards that is? And then they were like, and many people who I've like talked to about evolution, they were like, let's go to the experts. And let's go to the experts. Like the experts wrote the books in school that teach you about evolution. This is what they put here, and they cannot answer these simple questions. You can't trust the experts on evolution and Big Bang Theory and all that stuff. Like you just can't do it. Earlier today, I was watching a live new broadcast. It was on I can't remember if it was on ABC News or NBC News, but it was today. Nancy Pelosi was on the thing, and she was talking about we need to trust in science. And for me, it's literally gotten to the point where every single time I hear the word science, I bust out laughing. Cause I'm like, for one, I feel bad for them a little bit too, because for one, they're missing out on a whole world of amazing treasures that God God can give everyone. But also, it's just funny how like when people like evangelists go and ask them questions about how this stuff really started and they can't answer, they try to say you're playing with my mind or something. It's kind of like how, for instance, when some pastors, I'm not going to name any right now, but when some people go out and they act like, for instance, where, and this is going to get controversial real quick, where a lot of like transgenders and things like that are out and they talk about, oh, when you're born this way and stuff like that. And the question is, were you born with male parts or female parts? On your birth certificate, are you a male or a female? There are no, you're not born a transgender, you're not born homosexual, you're not born this way. If you're a guy, you're not born with a man. Like, it's not, it doesn't work like that. God did not create it to work like that. And if you think it works like that, sorry to say it this way, but you're in a delusion. You're in a delusion if you think that way, that somebody can be born opposite of what they really are. It just doesn't work that way. You can't choose your gender. You can't choose that. So it's the same thing with like evolution and science and things like that. It's just ridiculous. And I really led to go on this live today because it's time to right the rights and wrong the wrongs. It is time to turn down evolution and all this bogus scientific billions of years ago crap that is just really rubbish. I mean, I'm over it. Today, one of another guy I used to follow my old page. I went on his story and he was talking about something. I'm not gonna name who it was. I'm not gonna try to, but he was talking about it, and I could tell just from the way he was explaining the dimensions and all that, and scientific stuff about languages. I could tell deep down inside that he knew that God was the source of life. He knew that God was the source of existence. Deep down, I could feel it. And the whole time while I was watching his story, I was like, yes, yes, say it, glorify God, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then he made no mention of God whatsoever. I turned off my phone so quick. I was like, no, bro, you had the perfect opportunity to share the gospel and the truth of God. But you talked about languages. Oh my gosh, bro. This is crazy. And the craziest part about it is like, and the reason why I was so upset about that is because he actually has a pretty loyal following. So, if they were to hear that, they might actually there might be people who be like, oh, well, let me seek God now. People come to Christ because of what this kid said. But no, he was speaking about languages, but that's beside the point. But, oh my, just think about it. I actually had a conversation with a person who believed in the theory, and I asked him this one question. I said, where did the first life forms come from? And he first said it came from water. And I was like, okay, so you're saying humans came from water? And then we kept talking, and later he said, and then I asked him again, and then he said it came from rocks in space or something like that. And I'm like, I never laughed so hard in my life. I'm not trying to the whole point is just that when you realize how fake the whole evolution theory is and all that stuff, and how unreliable science really is compared to God, you start to laugh at some of these things because you start realizing how funny this stuff actually is. And it's not something that should be taken lightly. I'm not saying you should take it as a joke. It's just funny because it's ridiculous of how ridiculous it is. But it really is, deep down, is heartbreaking. And the reason why is because there are billions of people who are stuck in the delusion of I came from monkeys. Just imagine it. You're a human being. God put us, our human body, above all the animals of earth. God told us to go out and multiply, and he calls us to rule over the entire earth and inherit the earth. But there's so many people out here who think that we evolved from monkeys. Like, if only people knew that they were made in the likeness of God. If only people knew someone is going to see this video. I just feel in my spirit, someone's going to see this video, and I need to be very careful with my next words. If you're watching this playback or wherever you're watching this, I want you to know that Jesus loves you, and he is the way, the truth, and the life. And no matter what circumstance you are in right now, just know that God created you in his likeness. And if God can create the heavens and the earth and all the things around it, he can definitely help you. In fact, for this person who I'm talking to, I don't know who it is, but I just felt in my spirit, I need to change topics real quick, and I need to say this. I don't know what happened, but I want to tell you, whoever's watching this video, what this message that God just poured in my spirit to tell you. Before I started the YouTube thing, I was completely lost. My prayers were selfish. I didn't fully believe. My faith was weak. I didn't really focus on God that much. But then one day, it all changed for me. I was having a horrible day, and I was at my last resort. And I said, God, change me. Fill me up with your Holy Spirit and guide me and save me. Give me salvation and forgive me my sins. I sincerely came to God, and he gave me the experience of a lifetime. And whoever this message is for, who is watching this right now, I want you to know that if you right now get on your knees and humbly come to God, then he will save you. Guys, I just felt this in my spirit because I was talking about evolution and all that stuff, and then something just dropped in my spirit, and immediately I felt the Holy Spirit say, somebody's going to watch this video, and I want you to save this message. So I just want to just get that straight. And guys, if this message wasn't for you, I just want you to spread that message too, because really, God is the truth. But moving on though, guys, I want to explain to y'all how important it is to rely on God. First things first, I want to go to Psalms 127. I'm going to wait for some of y'all to want to follow on who are on the live. It's Psalms 127. All right? Let me see. Okay, so Psalms 127 says, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman walketh but in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for so he giveth his beloved sleep. Lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. Now, before I started this live, I was looking about a bunch of verses on how we should, that I could use in this video, that how we should put our focus on God and trust in him always, instead of science and all these other things of the world. And I came across this one, and at first I didn't want to use it. And I felt in the spirit that I should use it. I want to go over verse 5 right here. It says, happy is the man that has his quiver full of them, that they shall not be ashamed, that they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. What I feel this is really talking about is that when you rely on God, when you have your full reliance on God, you can talk to the enemy and you will not fold at all. You will be powerful and no enemy will be able to come against you. And that's why, and this same thing with the coronavirus thing, if you rely on God, this coronavirus thing will not affect you at all. Read Psalms 91 and trust me, God will protect you from anything that's going on. more verses. Let's go on to Psalm 62, verse 5 through 12. So verse 5, it says, My soul, wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense, I shall not be moved. And God is my salvation and my glory. The rock of my strength and my refuge is in God. Trust him. Trust in him at all times, ye people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Selah. Surely men of low degree are vanity, and men of high degree are a lie, to be laid in the balance. They are altogether lighter than vanity. Trust not in oppression, and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart upon them. God hath spoken once, twice have I heard this, that power belongeth to God, also unto thee, O Lord, belongeth mercy. For thou renderest to every man according to his work. So this is basically talking, a lot of it talking, this thing's talking about vanity. And when you love other things so much that you forget about God, when you rely on these things so much, when things get impressive and you start feeling stable, that is the prime time to rely on God. Because the more things you receive, it's the more the enemy is going to try to distract you. There's more, just like there's more tools that God can use to grow you, it is also more tools that the devil can use to try to get you away from God. You have to rely on God no matter what. Science can't save you. The experts can't save you. The devil surely can't save you. Money can't save you. You trying to figure out your own life can't save you. None of that stuff can save you. Only God himself can save you. For he is life, and he is the way. He is the truth. And we need to rely on him with everything. Let's go on to Psalm 37, verse 39 and 40. It is right here. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. That's actually verse 37, but I'll keep reading. So verse 38. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of the Lord, and he is their strength in the time of trouble. And the Lord shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them, because they trust in him. If you do not trust in God, there is no hope. I'm sorry to say it that way, but it's the truth. It's the 100% truth. Those who have faith in God is led by God. If you are not led by God, then who are you really being led by? The flesh? The enemy? You have to be led by God. Because if you are not led by God, then you can't be led in true righteousness. Especially not righteousness ready for the kingdom. See, God is the king. So if you're not led by the king, then you are a sheep away from its shepherd. The shepherd leads the sheep, not the sheep lead themselves. If the sheep lead themselves, then a pack of wolves will be across the map, and the wolves will attack, and the sheep will have nothing to protect itself with. But the shepherd has the stick. The shepherd has the weapons. The shepherd tells the sheep, go here, and the shepherd defends all the sheep. God is our shepherd. And see, God is our shepherd. So we need to rely on him with everything we got, because if we don't, we're just going to lead ourselves to deep darkness. You can only see salvation is only in the Lord. It's not through self. And the thing about it is, a lot of people, and I want to get on this real quick, a lot of people have been looking to a lot of external sources for safety. I personally have not tried to do all this safety stuff that the CDC has been doing and all this stuff, and I haven't contracted anything. I stayed in prayer, and I kept my faith in God. And I haven't been around any sick people. I haven't felt sick. I haven't been afraid at all. I've always moved in the spirit. I couldn't be fumbled. I knew what was truth. I knew that this whole thing was planned out. I was not I was not I was not in a delusion from a lie. I had my full faith in God, and my faith in God is what helped me get to the point where I am right now. Since the beginning, since I've been saved, that's what's helped me, and that's what's helping me right now. Because Lord knows that if I wasn't in God, I probably would be sick right now. I would probably be somewhere. I would probably be struggling right now. But now I'm actually hopeful for the future, and I'm going good because I trust and rely on God in everything I do. Do I need to mention how many times I pray for confirmation and for guidance from the Lord on a regular basis, let alone how much I do in one day? How often I go to the Lord to ask for confirmation and to ask Him if it is actually His will, and continuously ask and that God make sure everything happens according to His will in my life. That faith that God will set everything in its right place. That is what's been keeping me going. And if you do that same thing, then it can keep you going too. And the last verse I want to get to is Psalm 25, verse 4 through 5. Yep. It says, shew me thy ways, O Lord. Teach me thy paths. Lead me in thy truth and teach me, for thou art the God of my salvation. On thee I do wait all the day. This is how you know that you really are a child of God. It's just like how if you were a child, you would want to grab onto your parents when you're somewhere, right? It's because you trust your parents, you want your parents, you like that protection that your parents give you, right? It's the same thing with God. You have to rely on Him, wait on it. And this is actually labeled David's confidence and prayer. See, David had such a connection with God that he relied on God for everything, no matter what it was. David always relied on God. And because of that, David was as good of a king as he was. He was able to do what he did. And being a king, especially for a kingdom, I'm no like king. I'm not into politics and all that stuff, but I'm sure it's hard. I thought trying to do music industry stuff before what I'm doing now, I thought that was hard. So just imagine how hard ruling places is. That's got to be hard. And David, David's been going through a lot. He's a king, but he relied on God so much, and he was known as one of the greatest kings in biblical times. And before I answer your question, Esperanza, I need to get this. So right now, with everything going on, the politicians, the liberals, and all these people, they'll tell you to trust in the experts, trust in the scientists. And I'm not, by any means, I'm not talking down on any scientists. I'm not talking down on the doctors. God bless them, and we should keep them in our prayers because they really are doing some hard work, and they are in a very stressful environment. But I will have to say, when it comes to trusting vaccines and all this other stuff, if you don't trust in God, nothing's gonna work. So I just want to get that across. So once again, repeating the title, what do you rely on? Science or God? In everything, rely on God, because God will get you through the toughest times. Science won't get you through the worst ways in history. God will. Just like how Moses and all the Hebrews, when they were coming out of Egypt, they stopped at the Red Sea, and the entire Egyptian army was behind them. And the only place they could go is through that water. Moses did not part the water. God parted the water through Moses. God made the path. God created the way out. And they walked through the path, and they came out of the land of Egypt. And the entire army was destroyed. That is how much, like use Moses for example. Use all the people in biblical times. Use them as examples. Use Jesus as an example. You know how many times in the Bible it talks about how Jesus went to another room early in the morning before the sun came up? Jesus Jesus is the Son of God, and even He continuously for hours. And I was listening to a pastor, Miles Monroe. I was listening to a thing. He was talking about fasting, right? And one of the lessons he was teaching during that sermon is he was talking about how, the apostles, when they were casting out demons and doing the miracles, right, it took them a long time. They were constantly like, get out, I rebuke you, get up, get out. But whenever Jesus cast out demons and did all those things, he said it once and it came out immediately. But you have to understand that the prayer lives of the disciples and Jesus were completely different. See, while Jesus was in the morning for hours praying, the disciples were probably either sleeping, they were probably eating, whatever. So, and there's a kind of correlation when it comes to praying and walking in the power of God. Isn't it kind of weird how, because some people would only pray for maybe, 2 minutes a day, and they'll go out, try to cast out demons, and it takes 40, 30 minutes. But Jesus, it took him about 2 seconds. Now, he was the Son of God, but at the same time, in the morning, he was doing this for hours, 5 to 6 hours a day, if not more, by himself in the middle of the wilderness. I mean, you got to see the thing about it. Prayer is where you prepare. Prayer is the weapon. Prayer is where you put on the armor of God to be able to walk in the power of God and of the authority of God. And that's actually kind of a revelation for me because, the more I explain it and the more I do research about it, the more I understand how powerful prayer really is and how important faith is. And faith is relying on God for everything. It's just like before you do any major activity, you gotta take a step back and ask God, okay, how do I respond to this situation? What is the best way to handle this? Because let's just like baseball bat said. Let me. It said, fervent prayer will move mountains. Praying in the Spirit, Elijah had fervent prayer. Elijah is the spirit of power. You see, Jesus said himself, prayer is where you really train your faith. Because when you're praying, things don't happen immediately. You kind of have to wait for it. You have to wait for God's answer. You got to listen. You got to take the time to seek. So it's really about, do you really believe that God's going to do this? Do you really believe it's going to happen? And Jesus said, if you have faith, then you can tell this mountain to cast yourself into the sea. Or you can, if you can do that by your faith, you could probably end up, cutting the sun in half for all I know. I don't know. You could end up flattening a house and making it come back up again. I don't know. But you can start doing amazing things. Literally removing mountains, entire mountains. Imagine, because we can agree that something is coming, and I do truly believe that something big is coming, like some sort of great awakening. And I feel like a lot of miracles are going to happen. What are the odds somebody with great faith or a group of people with great faith come to Mount Everest and they're praying in faith, and next thing you know, Mount Everest doesn't exist anymore? I mean, what are the odds? I mean, come on. Our faith can move mountains. And it's literal. Remember what Jesus did to the fig tree? He said, no one will eat from you again, and the tree immediately withered. I mean, come on. And when Jesus left, he said that we would do greater works than he did. So just imagine what we can do for relying on God. And yes, some people go, well, science has uncovered so many things. Science has done so many things to help the health and stuff. Don't you know that the people in biblical times, they didn't have the vaccines and all this super scientific stuff, and they were perfectly fine. Heck, back in Noah's time, people were living for thousands of years, and they were perfectly fine. So I don't understand why it's so different now. We got to have all this stuff. And people will say their own opinions. Well, we just need it now because it's just so bad. But I hate to say it this way, but I just think it's just a lack of faith, to be honest. Like you trust so much in a vaccine, you trust so much on what science can give that you completely forget about God. And then going back to evolution and all that stuff, like what caused the Big Bang? Let's say the Big Bang was real for a second. What caused it? Because nothing can't cause something. Something causes it. Nothing is not something that can be caused, if that makes sense. Nothing can't make things happen. Something has to make something. There has to be an entity for an entity. There has to be an action for an action. There has to be an event caused by a source. There has to be a source for everything. And they're saying that it was a fusion or a fission explosion. Okay, how did that start? Where did the atoms come from? Where did all this come from? Where did matter come from? You're saying, because a lot of the evolution theories talk about how everything was in an atom-sized ball and it just blew up one day. And that's like the most bogus thing I've ever heard. And then they slapped 13.8 billion years ago to make it sound interesting. I mean, come on, man. Like, the scientists and all these people will try to do everything they can, especially in the education system. They will try to do everything they can to denounce God and promote science. And the Bible clearly tells us that any thought that exalts itself above the knowledge of God should be thrown away, cast out, rebuked, removed completely. It should be checked at the source. And that theory exalts itself above the knowledge of God. That is the first confirmation. That is the first literal living confirmation that that whole theory, evolution and all that, is the first confirmation that it is not of God and it's not righteous. It's not right. Because the Bible clearly says that our flesh was made from the dust of the earth. It clearly says that God has given us the breath of life, and He has created us from the dust of the earth, and He created man and woman. Doesn't say that first they were fish and then they evolved into monkeys and they evolved to this, and humans used to have gills. None of that. That exalts itself above the knowledge of God, and it's false knowledge, and it's a delusion that this world has been teaching us so long, and for, quite frankly, people are so just accepted of it. Just because one man or one woman just said, "Oh, we came from monkeys," or just because our bone structures are similar, and this fossil was just a couple thousand or a couple million years old. I mean, and talk about biblical times. They also use it to denounce biblical times. Just go on YouTube and just search the Sodom and Gomorrah sightings, and search all the ancient cities, and search Noah's Ark and the Ark of the Covenant and all this stuff. And people have found these things, the literal artifacts. They found the living geological proof, and they literally, you know what happened? Okay, so some people are saying they can't hear what I'm saying. I know what it is. I know what it is.
Wow. Wow. So the mic that I was speaking from a second ago was way over there. So I don't know if y'all heard anything I said before. I probably have to enhance the audio, and that will just take a long time, but I'll do that. So hopefully y'all can hear me now. Let me know if y'all could hear anything during that time, because I was completely oblivious to that. See, the devil don't want y'all to hear this message. The devil definitely does not want y'all to hear this message, especially the message I had for earlier, because okay, yeah, I had to switch from my headphones. I'm using iOS, so it doesn't switch, but yeah, Um, okay, you can hear me? Okay. Okay, as long as you could hear me, because there really was a point in this video near the beginning where where suddenly in my spirit, I felt that God was putting a message for someone specific, and I just really want to make sure that message gets to that person to make sure, like, because um, someone could end up getting saved from what God poured in my spirit earlier. But what I do know is once again, like I kept saying, we got to rely on God with everything. You can't always rely on what the experts say and what they said happened billions of years ago. Like they slapped this big fat number on a piece of paper just to make it sound interesting, and it's really bogus. The entire evolution and Big Bang Theory exalts itself above the knowledge of God because our human mind cannot comprehend the glory of God. And since our minds are little minds compared to God and cannot comprehend God's glory and his might, we try to come up with ways to make it make sense for us. But those bogus theories about billions of years ago exalts itself above the knowledge of God. And once again, the scripture says itself, anything that exalts itself above the knowledge of God should be cast away, removed completely. It should be checked at the source. So I just want y'all to notice. So if you are learning about evolution in school, I just just learn it so you can get the right answer so you won't fail the class, but don't take it to heart because it's really just a way to denounce the power of God. I got to end the stream soon real quick, so I hope y'all received it and everything. I hope the audio was good for y'all. And God bless y'all. I'll see y'all next time.